This is Love, Sex, Food with Jigs and Prema.
Hello, welcome to episode 4 of Love, Sex, Food. I'm feeling very excited tonight because I'm going to be talking to Jigs, asking him the questions. So, hello from me.
Hello from me in the hot seat.
This episode is entitled How to Keep Your Heart Open and Your Standards High. And when I saw Jigs had really put this as the essence of his coaching and mentoring for women, it made me so excited. I got a full body yes, because this is exactly the message I needed to hear when I was dating. Truly, I think as a woman, if I could really, nail the vibration, keep your heart open and keep your standards high, full body yes. So I want to ask you on this podcast what that means to you, where that's come from. Why do you think that the combination of those two things is so powerful when you're creating resilience and mindset in dating?
Well, so I think if we start with keep your standards high, I think that's important because ultimately you're looking for a mirror, right? So ultimately, the person that you hope to end up with is a true reflection of yourself. Therefore, you should never lower your standards for anyone because ultimately then you're diminishing your own self-worth and self-esteem.
Absolutely. I mean, I think talking from a woman who's dated, and so many of my girlfriends, self abandonment, right, has got to be right up there. And that is part of it, isn't it? Is that when you know and love and value yourself, you want to have that mirrored to you in a partner. So the more you love and honor yourself and hold those standards, the higher you're going to go. The more your relationship will be a reflection of that because you simply won't settle for anything less than.
Yeah, and kind of when you start dropping your standards, what tends to happen then is you also kind of lose your own self-confidence. You then also start to doubt yourself, and it's a slippery slope where then you don't think you're good enough. And then suddenly it becomes a chasing game, and then you're now not dating from a perspective of fun, enjoyment, meeting other people, but you're now dating from
A space of lack, isn't it?
yeah, but a level of kind of urgency or a necessity as opposed to something that you yourself would like to do. And I think once you drop your standards, it's kind of a domino effect for everything else. And then you come on to keeping your heart open. Well, ultimately, if your objective is to go and find love, how are you going to do that if your heart's closed? I mean, I don't think there's much else that I could say to that. Now,
But it's interesting because you talked about in episode 1 how through the process of dating you had your heart broken. So
absolutely.
how do you do that then? What is that? Because I'm sure there's people listening right now who are like, I can't go through this again. It is too painful. I trusted, I was vulnerable, I stepped into the space, I was open, and then it's just hurt. So it's easy to say, but what does that how does that actually work?
So look, when your heart has been broken, I think it's really important, and I always said is just to be kind to yourself, and you need to sit in it. You need to sit in it, and if you're going to be sad, then be as sad as you possibly can, so that eventually that pain starts. It just starts to dissipate, right? It starts going away. And what will happen over time is that the pain will get less and less and less. And eventually your heart will repair, not back to what it was, but it will be a different version. You'll
Mm,
be smarter,
mm.
you'll be wiser, you'll be more experienced. Now, it will be foolish not to then go on and open your heart up again, knowing what you now know, knowing what you now have learnt, to go out there and try it again. It's like, if you go and make a dish in the kitchen and you burnt it, well, would you never make that dish again? Or
Mm.
would you now learn, well, do you know what? This time I put the heat up for too long, or it was under the grill for too long. Therefore, next time I'm going to turn down the temperature. But you wouldn't generally, my view is that you'd never quit at the first attempt. You would learn from what you did. And then, ultimately, you would go back and make adjustments and you would go there. But it does take strength, it does take resilience. And this is where, that pilot light of wanting to find your person always needs to be there. Like, even when the boiler is not on, right, and your heating's not on in your, that pilot light is always just there in the background. And
Mm,
that's the hope that you need when it comes to truly finding love and your
yeah.
person.
I agree. I think as well, when your heart breaks, when you put it back together, in some ways it becomes stronger because you know what it is that you kind of want. You've had the experience, and from the experience, you've learned more about yourself. Like as you teach about resilience, and I think one incredible thing about you, just one of the 18 million other incredible things about you, but one of them is your resilience, not just in dating. And this is why I think you're such an amazing mentor in this space because at the moment we've only been sharing about dating and love, but actually your journey generally has been one of incredible resilience. Like that's honestly one of the real things that I honor and respect in you in everything. And I think that's why you're not just talking about this resilience, keeping your heart open when you experience sadness, grief, loss, change, transformation, not just doing what everybody else is doing, but setting your own standards for your own lifestyle, which is actually over and above other people's expectations.
Yeah,
I think that it goes further than dating, wouldn't you say?
absolutely. I mean, I think it's unrealistic to think that actions outside your dating life don't impact your everyday, right? So everything's interlinked. How you do one thing is how you do everything, right? Someone told me that very recently. Um,
Were they very wise?
yeah, very, very
Were they very
wise. Yeah,
beautiful?
yeah. I might be marrying them.
Okay.
But it is very true because ultimately, you know, it's very difficult to segment things in your life. There is massive overlap. So yeah, but now I'm waffling because I've forgotten the questions.
The question was, why I believe that your resilience attitude in dating comes from your resilience generally in life because of the things that you've been through. So obviously this is your story to share, but just a few of the episodes of your life. I mean, resilience and keeping your heart open generally in life. That's why I think that this message that you're sharing through dating is so much stronger. And actually, it's even if you're not dating,
I mean,
this message is very, very potent, I think.
I'm going to say something very controversial here, and I've been through a lot of shit in my life, as we all have.
But no, the thing is, this is one of the things is that some of the your episodes in your life, they're not actually the norm. And I think that's because you are so resilient and you are so able to integrate experiences in your life with ease, with grace, with flow. Well, maybe not ease, but with grace for sure.
So a story that I'll share very quickly, that's very personal, was I lived in the US for 10 years, and I was living out in New York, and the last year I was in 2017, I got a DUI, which is a driving under the influence as I was driving home back to my home. And I got pulled over in my driveway. And I'd been out to dinner and I'd had a couple of glasses of wine. To cut a long story short, what was a simple DUI, and I take full responsibility for, you know, my side of the actions. But ultimately, what happened was under Trump's first term, I violated my visa and I was put into prison for 4.5 months for a DUI. And after 4.5 months of being incarcerated, I left America after 10 years, having been handcuffed and taken to the airport with a piece of hand luggage. And I lost everything. And I had to rebuild myself and my life and ultimately come to terms with it. And I think the piece that was controversial that I will say is everyone has a choice to make in life when shit goes wrong. You can either be the victim or you could be someone that says, right, that's happened to me. How am I going to make this better? And I think my resilience came from when I was a kid because I couldn't speak. I had a stutter till, and I said this in episode 1, was I had a stutter until I was in my early 20s. So every day I had to wake up and do the most simplest things with the biggest difficulty, and that's just speaking. So if that doesn't make you resilient in life, I don't know what will. So that's what has ultimately given me this mindset. And I think there's part of me where I kind of do push myself to see how far I can take it, sometimes either consciously or unconsciously. But going back to what I was saying is that just resilience is such a powerful thing. And everyone has the option of playing victim. And I could have come back and I could have said, well, fuck this. Um, my punishment did not meet the crime and life is shit. And I could have gone down a completely different route. And you know what? No one could have said anything else. But I have to hold myself accountable for my actions and you build from them. And it is just ultimately my mindset. And that's why I never gave up on ultimately finding my person, finding true love, and being with the person that I truly ultimately do deserve.
Yeah, and following your passion in life as well. And I think that's why really the phrase, "How do you keep your heart open?" That is resilience. Because life throws us challenges. I think you've had like a lot, but we all have them. And so how do we keep our hearts open in the face of suffering? And I think the key thing for me is compassion. So when you can have compassion for the challenge of being a human being, for getting through daily life, through relationships and jobs and financials and everything like that, is fundamentally a very tricky process being a human being. So I think that how do you keep your heart open? I agree. It is resilience, it is grace, it is acceptance. It's not struggling, but just allowing yourself to expand through the experience. And for me, when I was dating, that was really important to just have compassion for myself and for the other person and for the process of being able to actually find your person. Because, I don't know what the chances are, but I think it's similar to like winning the lottery, isn't it? Isn't it?
Well, I feel like I have won the lottery. So yeah, winner, winner, chicken dinner.
So yeah, so I think that's for me, that's why keeping your heart open is such an important part. And then, you know, keeping your standards high. What would you say has enabled you to keep not settling? Because you remember what you said to me very early on. You said people always say asking me, "When are you going to settle
Yeah.
down?"
I hate those two words together because I think settling as a word is yeah, it's just it's just not a very inspiring word. I don't want to settle. Why the fuck should I settle? And then down, that's even worse. Like, let's settle down. I mean, once again, everyone has their own view on it. For me, it was very much a traditional thing as well. Just whenever your aunt or uncles would come over and you're not married, the first thing they'll say is, why haven't you settled down? Well, why don't I level up?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
I and part of resilience is that I actually make a conscious effort that if I do use words that are not positive, I'll stop myself and I'll rechange those words so that they are more positive than they are ultimately
Mm.
negative. Because I think it's so much about mindset,
Yeah,
which then,
language is
yeah,
super, super, super powerful, especially around dating, because at the end of the day, what you say is kind of what you're manifesting. So if you're saying dating is shit or the dating apps are shit and stuff like that, there is evidence to say that that isn't the case. But if you keep telling yourself that over and over again, that's kind of what's
guess what?
reflected back.
Guess what? Then they're going to be shit, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
here's the thing is that when dating apps came out, they were mind blowing, right? Because now suddenly, everyone on that app is single, right? So, and then I think with COVID, there was no other way to meet anyone else other than that, which ultimately reinforced it. But they're also billion-dollar businesses. These dating algorithms and apps are designed with their marketing is for you to find love. But I think their core DNA for their business model is to keep you engaged, right? Their algorithms are there to keep you on the app. Because if you find true love at your first swipe, how are they going to make any
Yeah.
money?
It's true. You know what? That's really interesting what you said there. You said these apps are designed to help you fall in love. So the hormone to help you fall in love is oxytocin. And that comes from everything that's in presence, like looking at your partner, holding hands with your partner, hearing your partner's voice. So in fact, dating apps are not designed to give you love because that part is all removed. What they're actually designed to do is give you dopamine. The dopamine hit of ding, someone likes me, ding, someone's messaged me. And then you're in a little bit of a dopamine buzz all the time. And we know that that's how we get addicted. You know, dopamine is the most addictive hormone that you can have in your body. It's what we get, you know, if you're taking like drugs.
I mean, these apps have been gamified.
Mm.
That's exactly what it is. It's a game. And then suddenly what happens is that the app is a game. You think it's there to find you love. And I'm not saying it doesn't. An app found us love.
Yeah.
It works. But I think your mindset has to be in the right place for you to get the best of it. And I think suddenly when you swipe and then you match with someone, and you could be off on a date meeting someone from that app that you've matched with, and as you're going you could be messaging someone else who you just matched with. So how, like, who gets your full attention? It's kind of nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is very interesting. So what would you say then? Keeping your standards high, what three kind of top tips would you give to someone who's listening right now on how do you keep your standards high? Because I think if you we kind of think backwards around it, if you keep your standards high, you don't put yourself into situations where your heart might be a little bit like bruised and battered because before you even go into a date, you've decided, you've just been discerning about is this person really going to be an energetic match for me? Or am I just doing it because it's a numbers game or because there's an opportunity there? Are you really stepping back and considering deeply, is this a good use of my energy or not? Because I think that's one of the things, like generally with burnout, is that we're always doing like all of the things which burns out of our energy, whereas we know that only about 20% of your energy actually moves the needle. So,
Yeah.
should we just be dating in that 20% where the high standards are?
Well, I would say first and foremost, quality over quantity,
Yeah.
hands down, right? So, how do you get quality over quantity? I would say the first thing you need to do is you need to understand yourself. What are you looking for? What do you want, right? What are your high standards? Then, how do you put your high standards into, if you're on a dating profile, how do you create a dating profile that is not broad and wide and vast, but it is concise. It reflects the person you are and it tells the person reading it more than just surface level. I like to go to restaurants. I like to go, well, so does everyone else.
Yeah.
Tell me something interesting about yourself.
Mm.
Tell me what values you're aligned to, what you're passionate about, what your loves are, what your interests are. That then makes me think, I like this person or I find a connection with this person. But that's you being confident in what you want and holding yourself to that. Then the other side is boundaries, right? Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries is making sure that you have them, right? Have your self worth, have your self respect, and don't be worried about asking questions that might seem a bit too deep because ultimately, if you choose to be vulnerable and the other person doesn't show any vulnerability back and it doesn't sit right with you, then you shouldn't go on a date with them,
Absolutely.
right? But if you do your due diligence before, and I'm not trying to say that it is it is all black and white because there is emotion involved, and that's very important because you do need emotion when you go on a date because you do want to fancy someone, you do want to have butterflies, but you also want to set yourself up for success. There's
Mm.
no point having this going on dates because you're going on a date and then you end up coming back and you're completely disappointed
Mm.
because they were the wrong match for you.
Yeah.
So do the work at the beginning.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're aligned with the person. Make sure that you have similar interests. And also, even as a woman, and I say that most women want men to arrange the first date. One of the things that was massively different in our first date was you said, let's go on a food safari. No one had ever done that.
Yeah.
And you caught my attention. Now I'm interested to another level. So
Yeah.
if don't be scared of sharing what you like and what you don't like. If you want to go to a museum, say you want to go to a museum.
Yeah.
And if the other person says, well, that's boring, And hey,
Well, you found that out here and now.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I asked you to go on the food safari, I was definitely in the mindset of go big or go home. Like, this is what I want to do. This is the kind of man that I want to attract. A man who says no is not really going to be available for the level of creativity, expansiveness, curiosity, and experimentation that I want in my life. And because I'd done so much of that on my own, I knew how much fun I could have just on my own. And then I was hanging around with some pretty cool people that were also expanding me. So therefore, my partner had to be that or better because I already felt really super full in my life. And I think that was the thing that gave me the confidence to date with the highest standard that I could possibly have and have my heart open when I met you. In that, if you had said no to me, I would have thought, but my heart is already so full of love because I love myself and I love my life. Now, I'm not saying that that was like, oh, yeah, I just woke up one morning and like that. To be honest, it was like 3 years of pretty hardcore time on my own, self awareness, doing the work, traveling, plant medicine, retreats, tantra work, all of that stuff. But boy, it was worth it for what
And
has manifested.
what's really interesting is that if I look at my journey and the dates that I was going on when I was in my 20s, and especially when I was in my 30s when I lived in New York, um, they were very drink inspired, right? They'd go to pubs and go to bars and so on. And the older I've become, the more importance I have put on alcohol as part of a date. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a martini. I love a glass of red wine or two. But what I realized is that when alcohol was involved, when it was dating and it became excessive, it meant that there was a more of a superficial connection and there wasn't really anything deep. And they generally ended in bad decisions or not great dates. And I think
And hangovers.
as and hangovers. But what I also realized is that I didn't want to feel that way, but it took me to go on a journey. And then what I realized is that if I then saw a profile and suddenly the woman in the profile, every picture was with a glass or a bottle of this or a bottle of that, and she had a party lifestyle, I was less now inclined to match with that person because that's not the lifestyle that I wanted for myself. So I think it's really important that, you know, your profile tells a great story about who you want to attract.
Mm.
So your profile's so important that if you put pictures of things aesthetic that you value, that's fine. It's not a problem. I think if you're a big boozer and you want to attract another boozer, that's not a problem. There's no judgment here. But if you're not a big boozer and then you go and match with someone and all their pictures of them are partying and going out, well, that's pretty much a bad decision
Mm.
on your part because then you kind of knew what you were getting yourself into. And don't go into this trying to change them because that isn't going to work.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it is interesting because, you did say about me, just from my profile, you said, oh, she looks a bit spiritual, didn't you?
I did.
But you still, you did to come and see me. So I think,
But
but to be honest,
but wait. But that's different because
oh, that's different.
like spirituals, like you're not going to fuck my life up by being spiritual.
I could get on your nerves.
Yeah, but it didn't. But I also realized that I was a bit more spiritually connected than I
Well, I mean,
originally
that's
thought.
the thing. I mean, I have got my own. I mean, the thing is, when we talk about someone's spiritual, everything's energetic. So, there's no such thing as being spiritual. Life in itself is magical and mysterious, which is what I think spirituality is.
Yes, we call it
Um,
monkey magic.
yeah, we call it monkey magic, and we go where we talk about, it is true though, since well, it's exactly what we were talking about this on the train earlier, that I don't really drink very much either. And so the amount that Jigs drinks now is less than because I'm not saying, hey, let's go out and go on the lash or anything like that. equally, I'm just very loving. Like, for me, spirituality is love. And I think that you've been much more vulnerable and open about love of everything, love of food, family, experiences. Like, you've definitely cried more
I'm
since we've been
yeah.
together. So I think that's the thing, is that you can blend, and everything's a reflection of each other. But I do agree with you. Like, I mean, I did not match with anyone who was holding a fish or driving a fast car, or what else? There was a few other ones. Like, when I saw it straight away, I was like, because I kind of don't want to be a fishing widow at the weekend and things like that. So I think you can use it, but this is all about, like, what else we talked about, which is for another time, is get off the apps and the phone and get in person as soon as you
Yeah.
possibly can. And then that helps you with your standards, doesn't it? Because you stop wasting time in an imaginary world where you're like, wow, look at that person. They're probably like this and this. And then when we get together, it's going to be like this. And, and we all do it. We all start fantasizing about the expectation, and we're not actually in the reality. As soon as you meet someone, I think you get a hit, don't you?
What's that thing, like when Instagram and then real life come along, it's like,
Insta versus reality.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of like that. But it's important because chemistry, attraction, all these things you can't get off a picture. You could like the idea of someone, and I think that's where a lot of people are getting lost, is like they like the idea of
Yeah.
them. They like the version that they see, and
The
everyone's gonna,
potential, the
yeah, oh my God,
potential.
I'm in love with their potential.
Yeah. This I think definitely is, not the place to date from, because everyone has potential to do anything, but that let that be as it is and grow in time. You have to be in love with the person sitting across from you at that time, and then be a cheerleader for them to develop their potential if they want it in whatever direction they want to go. And that takes a lot. That's really about meeting a human being and loving them exactly as they are, and knowing that they're capable of so much more if they desire to do it, and then showing up for them, which is what I love to do with you. I love to spend my time thinking about how I can help you enjoy your life more.
And that's exactly how I live my life for you. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've never had an argument.
No, I mean, we've had some great conversations,
Conversations.
really good conversations that have always brought us closer together in the vulnerability of sharing, and also not allowing anything to get in between us, never pulling away, even when it's scary, when you think, oh, I don't like this, it's uncomfortable, and you want to, like, retract, just going towards it. So all of these things, we met from a dating app. We met on Inner Circle. Big shout out to Inner Circle. We can be their success story.
Yeah.
We should get sponsored by them. What do you think? I think we
That's
should.
that's a good idea.
Somebody listening to this who knows someone at Inner Circle, please tell them about our love story.
Love Sex Food, sponsored by Inner Circle.
Yes, please.
No, it's not
No, no,
happening.
no, no, no.
Bumble might pay us more money, actually. Joke, joke,
Anyway,
joke.
yeah. So anyway, to conclude this episode, I really wanted to dive into this kind of mantra of keep your heart open and your standards high. Let's start from that place and start building. And I know that Jigs, that's your desire now, isn't it? Really to help other women to feel that, and to date from that place.
Yeah. I mean, but also date, if you get it right, dating can be a lot of fun because you could meet some incredible people.
Mm,
There are fascinating people in this world, and you walk past them every day, and people have great stories. And I get wealthier by meeting other people,
yeah,
and I've met some incredible women. And I think, when you give dating the experience that it could potentially have, and a point that, that I say to a lot of women that I work with is if you give dating the respect it needs, it will then give you the outcome you desire. So for example, if you're going to go on a date on a Wednesday night, and you say to your date, meet me at 6 o'clock around the corner from your office because you finish work at 5:30, and you've been in your outfit the whole day, and you've got your work bag, what kind of a mindset are you actually going to be in to go on this date? If you truly value wanting to meet your person, then make the effort, go home, have a shower, get out of your work clothes, put your makeup on, wear some aftershave, shave, put on some good shoes, make the effort so that you yourself get goosebumps. It's you yourself that gets excitement
Gets
going.
turned on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
tell the story, man. Go there. Don't make it convenient.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the
Mhm.
biggest problems these days now with dating is people make it convenient for themselves.
Yeah.
If you make it convenient for yourselves, then sorry, but how the hell do you turn that into a love story?
Yeah. Do you want a convenient story or do you want a passionate, adventurous, experimental, curious love story? Well, I mean, that's what we would choose. Maybe not
Well,
everyone would, but
do you want to stick to the plan or do you want to go on an
well,
adventure?
that's the line,
There
isn't
you
it?
go.
That changed my life.
That's it.
But there you are. Yeah. And I think just to end this episode, I was just thinking like of a little mantra which came from this whole conversation, which is let no date ever be wasted. There is always a morsel of deliciousness to be taken from every meeting with someone. There's always something you can learn, something you can share. Something where even you don't know the effect that you could be having on someone else in terms of helping them
Yeah.
find their perfect person and adjust their standards. So you have to be in it to win it. And that's what we're here to do, to encourage you not to give up, to believe in love, to create your own love story and to really embody the true authentic you so that you're met in that with somebody else because it is magic when you're
Yeah.
in love.
And yeah, just keep your heart open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
So
only way.
well, there are many other ways, but if you want to find
Fundamentally.
love,
Yeah, you've
that's
gotta keep your
yeah.
heart.
Don't drop your standards. God damn it. No.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't settle.
At all.
Don't settle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially not down. God.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Eh,
that was
We're
today.
waffling.
We're never waffling. I love our conversation. So that was our conversation today in this episode. Now, we would love for you to subscribe to the podcast. We'd love to hear what you think. We'd love you to share and to like. We've got so many stories between us, and we want to make our podcast so relevant to all of those who love it. So let us know. Let us know how you feel, what you want, what you need, and we will see you on the next episode of Love, Sex, Food.
See you later. Have a
Bye.
great weekend. Bye.